1, 2. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start the speeches, I'd like to mention Christine Keegan. Christine is the mother of Mary and Martina Keegan, who lost their lives in the Stardust fire on Valentine's Day 1981, alongside 46 other innocent victims. Christine sadly passed away this week. She fought for nearly 40 years for justice for the 48 innocent victims, to have those responsible for the major breaches in safety measures to be held accountable. We have the honour of standing with the Justice for the Stardust 48 Committee as they handed in an application for a new inquiry to the Attorney General. The news he was going to grant a new inquiry on the 25th of September last year was met with celebration, yet here we are 10 months later, still waiting. Christine sadly did not get to see justice done for her daughters. The families of the 48 innocent victims are still waiting, but we know they will never give up. They will keep fighting and we will support them all the way. We would like to offer our sincere sympathies to Christine's family. She was an amazing, kind-hearted lady who will be missed. On behalf of the March for Justice, I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today. As most of you will know, Wexford has a rich cultural history and amazing strawberries. The people of Wexford have taken part in every major rebellion in Irish history. They've never been afraid to stand up for what is right and just. So it's very fitting that we chose Gorey as our first protest after the lockdown. Our speakers today are here to bring attention to issues happening right now in our country. The impact ongoing homelessness has on our communities, the attempts. March for Justice Ireland is involved in many campaigns. We deal with and highlight many issues of injustice. Each one of them is as important as the next, but none have had the impact on us as a committee as the issue of suicide. All our members have had an experience of suicide, be it within our families or within our circles of friends. We know what the impact suicide has, but not for a second could we have ever imagined the loss of a child to suicide, especially caused by bullying. Just like others who have been blessed not to have lost a child to suicide, we can just imagine how it feels. I don't know many households who have not been touched by suicide in one way or another, but somehow the loss of a child in such tragic circumstances was unimaginable for us. Then we met Jackie, Mary and Aisling, 3 mothers who lost their beautiful daughters. Nicole, Coco, Kaylee and Mia to suicide. All 3 young girls suffered at the hands of bullies in their everyday life, but then had to endure endless torture online. Every aspect of their young lives was impacted. They lived in a never-ending hell and finally sought peace in the only way they could think of and ended their lives. The only people who fought to save them was their families. The HSE offered these beautiful young ladies no help. The guards could do nothing to stop the relentless torture because it's not it's not a crime. And I use Jackie's words here to annihilate another human being. The Irish government have failed every family who have lost a loved one to suicide. Our mental health services are way beyond lacking. And yet the government still sit on their wallets. Instead of plowing money into mental health services, the Shannon clocked up the bill of over 3.2 million for 6 days' work since the start of the year. 800,000 of that on travel and accommodation. Now this is when we couldn't travel and we couldn't stay in hotels. And then don't forget the department of the Taoiseach running up the bill of over 91,500 on travel expenses this year. 4.6 million is supposedly to go on new junior ministers. And dare I even mention the 13 billion. The media are claiming that Ireland and Apple won their appeal. I don't remember the people of Ireland watching the appeal. I'm sure none of you do. I do, however, recall the Irish government screwing the people of Ireland over by allowing Apple dodge their tax bill, while the ordinary Irish people have no choice but to pay their tax. It's also looking likely that many who are in receipt of the COVID payments will be hit with a tax bill at the end of the year. I don't think the government will allow them to get away with it. All this is going on while people are suffering. They're taking their own lives as we stand here, but the government are doing nothing to help. Seriously, how can that be justified? Meeting the three mothers opened the committee's eyes, sitting down and speaking to them, listening how their worlds have been turned upside down, brought us all to tears. I know the men in the committee won't have a problem saying that. We're all parents, and thought of our children suffering as Coco, Katie and me did, and it really did break our hearts. I have 3 children, and seeing the pain in Jackie's eyes has made me treasure all my children even more. And it really is beyond their understanding how the government can sit back and not be bothered by it. They're fully aware of the increasing number of victims to online bullying, the suicide pandemic engulfing our children, yet they're doing nothing to stop it. We have an online petition which we will be handing to the government to bring in Coco's law, a law to make bullying a criminal offence. You can find a link to it on the March for Justice Ireland page, Facebook page, or Jackie's Let's Bring in Coco's Law Facebook page. So far, over 30,000 people have signed it, and we would really like to thank every single one of them. The support for Coco's Law has been overwhelming. It's beyond anything we could ever have imagined, and constantly reaffirmed that people really do care, even if the government don't. This is one of the main reasons that March for Justice Ireland will stay by the side of these mothers and will continue to fight with them, so no other parent has to suffer like they are. They really are an inspiration to us, and we are completely humbled by them. Totally in awe of the amazing strength they show every day, and we'd like to thank them for allowing us to be part of our lives. Now, our first speaker is Dylan Collins, who's going to speak on behalf of Aisling O'Neill, Mia's mother.